The brand new permanent endgame content mode has finally been announced for Genshin Impact Imaginarium Theater. So we're going to break down everything that Genshin announced about this mode, a couple concerns I have with it, but why overall I am super excited and why I think this is a great addition to the game. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. So first of all, Imaginarium Theater. This is the ceaseless drama of adventure played out in the interstice between reality and fantasy. I guess the first thing I will say is that everything about how the new mode looks, the UI, all the buff cards, all of the little art in between, the animations, the varying environments for the new area, for the new combat mode, they all look really good to me. There's a bit of quality of life where you can see your character's stats and their artifact sets and their weapons before going into the mode and edit them, it looks like, which we desperately need for the Spiral Abyss. The UI and the animations and everything like that make the Spiral Abyss look absolutely outdated. Like this, it looks incredible, and the Spiral Abyss really needs a facelift, so hopefully it gets that for Natlin, if not sooner. In terms of rewards for the new mode, they look fine. They're the same as the Spiral Abyss. And then they're increased. Well, it's a bit increased, and then they're also increasing the Spiral Abyss. The entrance to the new mode looks really cool. The lore behind it with the Hexen Circle and the powerful mages creating this area looks really cool. So overall, like, first impressions of it are really good, and I think it looks very interesting. So let's talk about how the rules work, and then why I think that they're good, and also the concerns I have. So you need to be adventure rank 35 or above. Makes sense. This is an endgame mode. 35 is actually not that high, but it's a good like mid-game point. Someone who's AR 35 is at least able to understand combat, understand team building to some degree. I think it's a good time to introduce things to them. I'm surprised that they didn't like announce like a free character that you get for completing the early areas of the Imaginarium Theater, like kind of like you do in the Spiral Abyss. I would have expected some sort of free character. Maybe in the future they'll add that. In this gameplay, you need to select multiple characters to form a party and complete multiple combat stages. Each season will feature 3 specific elements, with the first season being Pyro, Electro, and Anemo. Characters that meet the elemental and level requirements can be selected. So basically, except for specific designated characters, you have to only use Pyro, Electro, and Anemo characters. And not only that, you have to use a lot of them. The highest difficulty mode will require you to use, I believe it was 16 different characters, which is quite the roster. Preparation phase, select characters to take part in the challenge. Challenge phase, select special events, complete combat performances. Finalization phase, obtain rewards. I like how obtain rewards is its own phase. That's funny. Before the challenge begins, you must select all the characters that will take part in this gameplay. Opening characters. 6 characters will be set as your initial principal cast at the start of each season. You may also select their trial version. So you have a choice between these characters. I wonder if do you have to pick this exact 6? Like you get this exact 6 to begin with, and you have to use some combination of this? Or do you get to choose other ones as well? These are just the trial characters. Aside from the opening characters, you can also select multiple alternate cast members. Alternate cast members can be added to the principal cast by completing combat events or triggering companion events. This helps to expand your party to complete multiple combat rounds. You can select alternate cast members from the following 3 types of characters. Characters that meet the element and level requirements, characters provided by friends, or special guest stars, a special pool of selectable characters that do not need to meet elemental requirements for the corresponding season. So you pick 6 characters to start. You pick another 10 characters either from the respective 3 elements or from the special guest stars, which will presumably be the characters that are on banner. Each character starts with 2 vigor. Each time they complete a combat event, they will lose 1 vigor. Once exhausted, they will no longer be able to participate in the battle, so you can only use each character twice. So I can't just spam raiden for the whole thing. The composition of your party setup is key to completing your performance. The opening characters of each season will obtain fantastical blessings, which offer buffs. Not only will these buffs be effective during Imaginarium 3 Challenge, but they'll also take effect during your adventure outside the theater, including the Spiral Abyss. Whoa. I did not realize that it included the Spiral Abyss with the buff. It's not like a crazy buff, but increasing max HP, attack, defense, by 20%. This is actually a decent buff for the Spiral Abyss. That's actually super interesting. I'll have to keep an eye on this and make sure that I'm, when I'm testing characters, I'm not accidentally giving them this buff. For me, that's actually kind of annoying, but overall, this is a nice little buff for people who need that extra little bit of damage for the Abyss. During the challenge, you can choose to trigger events to add characters to the party or gain buffs. However, this can also pose risks. Please make your choice carefully. Battle normal, battle normal, battle normal, so that you gain flowers. You choose the enemies that you want to fight. You battle, you gain flowers, or you can spend flowers and you gain a random companion. Very interesting. Select suitable characters based on the enemy situation. Complete several rounds of characters of challenges to obtain rewards. So look at this is a completely different. First of all, this is a completely different environment background, which is really, really cool. It's not just the same background like there is in Spiral Abyss, which I like the background, but it kind of disappears after a while, always being the same. It's really cool. There's different ones in this mode. So we can see here, defeat all opponents is 1 star. Defeat 2 opponents using elemental skills. Oh, and then the star challenge, defeat each opponent within 90 seconds. Earlier on, I saw that you had to trigger 5 swirls to get the full stars. So you're definitely going to have to construct your team based on the goal. So this is a bit more of a team building exercise and building unique and different teams than it is about just doing DPS, which I think has pros and cons. I think there's good and bad things about that. But personally, as someone who builds and tests every character, I'm obviously very, very excited about that. Rewards. To clear Imaginarium Theater, you will need to complete 3, 6, or 8 battles respectively under the easy, normal, hard difficulty levels. The Primogem rewards that can be obtained are as follows. First clear rewards, 1,100. Rewards per season, 620. So it's less than the Spiral Abyss. Interesting. After the new gameplay is available, the Primogem rewards for each phase of the Spiral Abyss will increase from 600 to 800. Yay, more Primogems. Complete specific stages to obtain toy medals, which can be exchanged with Wolfie for characters' special photo poses. I mean, I gotta say, I'm not a fan of special photo poses as a reward, but Raiden is looking absolutely fire in this pose. I want this as a figure so bad, you have no idea. In addition, you also receive Midlander Billet Trove, Sanctifying Essence, character talent materials, and other rewards. If you get billets for every season, that would be insane. It must be a permanent reward. Oh no, this is from the toy medal thing. That's cool. That's cool. All right, the schedule. The first season of Imaginarium Theory will be available on July 1st. So like a week away? Oh, July 1st. That's a really long time. Okay, so not right away because June 1st is coming up. So July, it's a whole month. It's a month and a week away still. Okay. With the release of new gameplay, the Spiral Abyss schedule will also be adjusted starting from June 16th. Both gameplay modes will be available for 1 month each time. So they overlap. First half is Imaginarium Theater. Second half, Spiral Abyss. So every 2 weeks you get either a new Spiral Abyss or a new Imaginarium Theater. I guess my one question is, do they completely change the lineup, or do you play the same lineup twice for either the Imaginarium Theater or the Spiral Abyss? I hope it's a new one, but we'll see. So our total Primogems go from 1,200 to 1,420. So we get an additional 220 Primogems. So 2 more wishes per month. Not huge, but 2 wishes a month, 24 wishes a year. Extra does add up. Definitely not something to like write home about, but definitely better than a kick in the teeth. Oh no, 220 is not 2 wishes. My bad. It's only a wish and a third. Okay, maybe a kick in the teeth is better. Okay, so let's talk about the potential concerns. So I think potential concern, there's 2 concerns. One is that it would be too hard, and the other that it'd be too easy. I don't think anyone's really expecting it to be too hard. So I think that the biggest downside is if it's just so easy to use just like really weak characters and you just easily clap through it, and so it incentivizes having characters but not really building characters. So yeah, you select 18 characters. I said 16, it's 18. My apologies. And then 1 supporting cast character, which is 1 character from a friend, and your characters have to be at least level 70. Also, why is Arlecchino using Exile? Hilarious. So it looks like the highest level difficulty of enemies will be level 90, which is 5 levels lower than that of Spiral Abyss floor 12. So let's take a look. I think this is probably equivalent to floor 11. So 88. So it's equivalent to Chamber 2 equivalent to chamber 2 of floor 11 for the spiral abyss, which is definitely quite easy. I can definitely feel like the biggest thing I'm not sure about is, will the game actually provide enough of a challenge to feel super satisfying? Because on one hand, yes, the levels will be really low, but on the other hand, you're going to be using really suboptimal teams. So it could be that using suboptimal teams is enough of an offset to make it so that it still feels like enough of a challenge. It's really hard to say until you try it out. This is why I say, to know actually how good it's going to be, we actually have to play it. I definitely expect people who have some vertical investment on their characters will have an easy time, and people who borrow a whale from their friend will also have an easy time. It looks like the supporting cast character can be anyone. So I think that this mode will actually be able to be completed by the majority of players. I think it is going to be fairly easy to speedrun this because you can use trial characters and you can borrow a friend's whaled character. So you don't actually need to build as many characters yourself as you think. Personally, I'll be doing, like, my runs will use only my own characters because it's not reliable to rely on a friend. So I'll be using like all my own characters. But I think it's really, really interesting that if you want to make it easier for yourself, you can use other people's characters. And that's fine to me. Like, what I care about personally is using my own characters. If other people want to use friends' characters, then they can, but I want to beat it with my own. But what I love is that this actually incentivizes building redundant characters, right? Because right now, I have absolutely zero use ever for my yoimiya. Like, there's no, in terms of endgame content. Like, I have Arlecchino, I have Hu Tao, I have Klee. Why would I have yoimiya? In this mode, I have to play 8 battles, and I can only use Arlecchino twice. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Now I can actually use the majority of my pyro roster. There's still too many pyros for me to use all of them, but I can actually use all of them and have a reason to have them built and actually feel like my investment into these different characters is worth something. I know some people will say, oh, it's pay to win. It's, you know, first of all, there's trial characters, so you don't need to build as many characters as you think. But second of all, this game is around collecting characters. Like, you're going to end up with a lot of characters if you play this game for a long time. That's just the reality. And up till now, there has been no incentive to get additional characters that overlap in roles. There's no incentive at all. And so a format like this is necessary to give overlapping role units some new life. Otherwise, there's just never any incentive to use your Tighnari when you already have all Hytham. But now you can utilize both of them. And you're going to end up using team compositions that you never would have used otherwise that aren't necessarily optimal, which is another thing that is really, really cool. I also expect that although it will be fairly easy in the beginning, I do expect the mode to get more challenging over time. Pure Fiction in Honkai Star Rail, which was the additional endgame add to Honkai Star Rail on top of their version of the Spiral Abyss. It's like a multi-wave AoE, like refreshing mobs kind of mode. It started out quite easy and then has gotten harder and harder over time. So I do expect that this mode, if people clear it easily, will get harder and harder and will adjust over time, just like the Spiral Abyss has over time. Obviously, I don't think it'll be as drastic of a difficulty spike as the Spiral Abyss has had over the years, but I do think that there will be a difficulty spike. I'm really, really excited for it. I think it's really, really cool. I think it incentivizes different stuff. I think the buff system they don't look crazy impactful, right? Like the buffs that they showed, they were fairly mundane, so it still will be more about your characters than it will be about the buffs that you choose. And personally, I think this is good. The reason why I think this is good is that in the simulated universe in Honkai Star Rail, at some point, like, even though the buffs really matter, and choosing the right buffs for those certain modes matters, that's not as fun to me as your characters mattering the most. So personally, I am a fan of characters mattering the most and buffs mattering less. I do wish the buffs were a little bit more exciting and engaging. I don't want to see like a 20% attack buff. This is boring. I want to see something a bit more unique and different. But it's kind of tough because unique and different can also end up being gimmicky. So I don't actually know what the right solution is, but I am a fan of characters being front and center as opposed to buffs being front and center. And yeah, with the overall vibe of it looking so good, the polish, I hope they revamp the Spiral Abyss as well. I think the one other thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is it looks like you have to start specifically with these 6 characters, and I don't love that. I would prefer that I could start with any of my characters that match up with their elements. I don't like the fact that I can't start with Raiden, for example. I feel like that's a restriction that didn't need to be there. But overall, I think this is going to be a really good addition to the game, and I think that if it is too easy in the beginning, I do think there is precedent for it to be increased in difficulty over time, and we will have to wait and see. I think there's a big part of this is we just have to wait and see how good it is, how fun it is when we actually play it. That's really all it comes down to. Like, how fun is it really? But I'm very much looking forward to it personally. So let me know what your thoughts are on it. Remember, we'll be giving away a Clorand live during the banner release, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for that. Take care. Bye for now.